Hello learners, welcome to TryRide. Today we will be learning about creating custom exceptions. Yeah, so why we create custom exceptions? If they are used, they are created to represent specific problems in our application domain. Example, insufficient fund exceptions, invalid age exceptions, and say respectively, if we need to enter, if we have to make errors handling more meaningful and readable, and to improve debugging and maintainability. We use these custom exceptions. Now, there are types of custom exceptions. There are types of custom exceptions. These can be as exception. We can extend we can extend exception. We can extend exception, which is a superclass of all exceptions, all errors or classes. Uh, from because it is derived from the table, which is having two subclasses as exceptions and error. So exceptions create a checked exceptions. So exceptions create a checked exceptions. And runtime exceptions, that is, they are created by the unchecked exception. They are creates an unchecked exception. We know that exceptions create unchecked exceptions, and runtime exceptions are created by unchecked exceptions. Now creating a checked exception, check custom exceptions. To create a checked custom exceptions, let there be a class myCheckedExceptions, which will extend the exception class. This exception class, this myCheckedException class is extending exception class. So it will handle all, it will inherit all the properties of this exception class. Yeah. So myCheckedExceptions string message will pass a message. This will create the super message. This will call the super message. This will call the super class message. And following further, we have the public class checked exception. Following this further, we have public class checked exceptions. So in this there has the static void main int age, which will throw checked exceptions. Uh, Checked exceptions. In if the coming to the main body, we have the if age is less than 18, it will throw the exceptions. Through my checked exception must be 18 years old. And following to this, we have the main class, public class main method. Main method has public static void main string args, which have the try catch block also. The try block follows that validate 16. The age is not up to 18. If we have to validate it by 16, validate 16. This will validate the age. We will check for the age, and this will and after checking the age, if it has some exception, it will throw the exception to the my exception and object key, and we'll print the message check catch caught exceptions and e dot get message, only e dot get message. So in this way we can form custom exceptions. Now custom exception at the runtime and creating an unchecked exceptions, unchecked custom exception. Suppose there is a class my my unchecked exceptions, which will extend runtime exception. This unchecked class, this checked unchecked class, this is unchecked exception, so it will extend runtime exceptions. And similarly, we have the check classes that were extending the parent. This was extending check. This was extending check exceptions only. Yeah, this is runtime exceptions. Hmm. This is runtime exceptions and public class my unchecked exceptions. This will throw a message, string message. This will check for super message. This will check for the super message. And for further following, if there is there is a public class just unchecked, which has a public void withdraw, which has withdraw function, which has the initial amount, as a parameter. Now, if amount is greater than 1000, if the amount you supplied here is greater than 1000, this will throw a my checked exception. This will throw unchecked exception where withdrawal limit exceeded. If it suppose you are having money that is less than 1000, so it will throw an exception. Withdrawal amount limited. Withdrawal limit exceeded. And suppose after that we have the public static void main string args as the main method line, and here we have the method withdraw 1500. So this will check this will be forming a checked or unchecked expression. 15,000 will be going for this expression part, and if here the amount is greater than 15,000, 1000, its amount is greater than 1000, so it will throw the exception. So it will catch the exception and will throw up the exception. Yeah. Now coming here, output program terminates unless the exception is caught. Program will terminate as we haven't caught the exception. As we haven't caught the exception, we have written only that if part here. There is no try and catch block here. So the program will terminate because we are passing a value that is more than 1000. Yeah. Now, for the best practices, we always should always provide at least one constructor that accepts the message. There should be a one constructor. So there should be a one constructor that accepts the message, and use custom exceptions only when they add clarity or value. When we should suppose we should be adding custom exception only we need clarity and value. And name your exception classes clearly because it will provide invalid user input exception. For that, you should provide the exception classes pretty much accurately and correctly. Now document the correct conditions under which the exception is thrown. We should always be documenting the condition. We should always be documenting the condition about which exception and why the exception is being thrown. About which exception and why the exception is being thrown. Now coming further, we have the custom exceptions real world too. For that scenario, we have the for that scenario we have the bank applications. We have the class insufficient fund exceptions, which will extend exception class. This is extending exception class only. Yeah. So it will inherit all the properties of the exception class. So public insufficient exception is also passing a message. It's also string a message, string message, and super message, which is always going to having the super message. Now class bank, this bank class, which has a initial balance as 500. This withdraw int amount throws insufficient exception. This method withdraw and parameter int amount will throw an exception through insufficient exception if the amount withdrawn is more than the balance. If the amount withdrawn is more than the balance, this will throw insufficient exception balance insufficient exception funds. Else balance will be less than if the withdrawn amount that's less than that total in balance, then the balance will be equal to balance minus balance equals to balance minus amount. Yeah. Now so it will be printing a message from around println in withdrawn successful remaining plus remaining is equal to balance remaining balance. Yeah. So coming further, we have the public classes bank test, public class bank test. Here which have the main method and public static void main string args, and we are forming an object of this bank p. We are forming an object by the p name with the help of this new keyword and the bank class. Yeah, blank class. Now we have the try catch block here. In this try catch block, we will call the method with help of we will call the this method withdraw with the help of object p. B dot withdraw 1000. We have the balance only as 1000, only as 500. Remember this. Uh, yeah, we have the balance only as 500 in the beginning. Yeah, we provided 500 only as the beginning amount, and we are withdrawing 1000. So, and now following this try block, which will catch block, there is a catch block which shows insufficient fund exception. Yeah, and it will print error if you print error e dot get message. Message will be thrown if you have insufficient balance. Yeah, you have to, so here we will be thrown an exception because you will have insufficient balance here because you are having 500 only. Now today we learned about the different topics as how to use custom exceptions to model specific errors and extend exceptions for checked runtime exceptions or unchecked exceptions. Now we have to use meaningful names for an error messages. For meaningful name and error messages, we have to give we have to give specific names. We have to give correct and useful meaningful name. We have to handle them like start exception using try catch block. We have to handle them like standard exceptions using try catch block. We have to always use try catch block to handle all the exceptions. Now, thank you. We'll meet in next class.